When two women find shelter in a female-only refuge, they form a close bond, until one desires more than friendship. What follows is a dark and twisted obsession, culminating in unspeakable violence. One woman is cut into 6 pieces, her remains partially burned in a desperate attempt to conceal the crime. But the flames don't destroy the evidence. They ultimately expose the killer in the act. In early 2020, a new resident moved into the refuge where 28-year-old Phoenix Netz lived. The property, a shelter for vulnerable women, typically housed more than 3 people at a time. Each resident had a private room but shared common facilities throughout the building. Phoenix had been at the refuge for some time, having arrived there after a series of difficult experiences. Struggles with addiction had marked much of her life, leaving her vulnerable from a young age, which eventually led her to seek shelter at the refuge. The new arrival was Gareeca Gordon. Phoenix, always open-hearted, quickly crossed paths with Gordon, and a friendship began to form. They often spent time together, inviting each other to their private rooms, sharing stories, and offering companionship. But the atmosphere shifted when Gordon expressed romantic and sexual feelings toward Phoenix, feelings that Phoenix did not share. At first, Gordon seemed unfazed by Phoenix's rejection, but she didn't stop trying. What had begun as a fast-forming friendship was now shifting into something uncomfortable, Gordon's advances becoming a pattern of unwanted attention. One day, Phoenix, facing a moment of need, asked Gordon if she could borrow some money. But instead of a simple yes or no, Gordon made a disturbing proposition. She would lend the money only in exchange for sex. Phoenix refused again, but the boundaries between them were already beginning to fray. What began as unwanted attention turned into physical intimidation whenever Phoenix refused her sexual requests. From February to April, the situation grew worse, and Phoenix found herself becoming more fearful with each passing day. Before moving to the refuge in Birmingham, Phoenix had lived in London, surrounded by friends and family. But now, isolation and anxiety had taken their place. Feeling trapped and overwhelmed, Phoenix knew she needed to make a decision. Phoenix had made up her mind. She was leaving. The constant fear of living under the same roof as Gordon had become unbearable. Avoiding her was impossible, but she knew she had to say something. She needed to tell her she was leaving, that she was going back to London. When Phoenix broke the news, Gordon's reaction was tense, her anger barely hidden beneath a forced calm. But it wasn't until the two were alone, behind the closed door of Phoenix's room, that Gordon's restrained fury began to surface. Gordon, now consumed by rage, revealed a knife she had brought with her. Without warning, she lunged at Phoenix, stabbing her 4 times in the torso. The wounds were severe, painful, and life-threatening, but not immediately fatal. Phoenix was left bleeding out, her life slipping away slowly. Despite this, Gordon made no attempt to get help. Hours passed, and Phoenix remained alive, struggling, while Gordon stood by, watching her suffer. Eventually, as Phoenix's strength faded, Gordon took Phoenix's phone from her weakening grasp, sealing any remaining chance of rescue. After taking Phoenix's phone, Gordon's actions grew even more disturbing. She began with a series of grim Google searches, then turned to Gumtree, where she ordered a circular saw and had it delivered to the refuge. Once it arrived, she entered Phoenix's room and used the saw to dismember her body into 6 separate pieces, working as quickly as she could. Each piece was placed in various suitcases. But Gordon wasn't done. She meticulously cleaned the room, removing blood-stained clothing and furniture, attempting to erase any trace of what had happened. Throughout that same day, she used Phoenix's phone, studying Phoenix's text messages, mimicking her style of writing, the way she used abbreviations, and even the number of kisses she added at the end of messages. Gordon's plan was clear. She intended to impersonate Phoenix, making it seem as though she was still alive, while she focused on disposing of the dismembered remains. On April 20th, a van pulled up outside the refuge, a rubbish disposal team hired by Gordon. She paid them to take away a collection of items, a blood-stained carpet, a bed, and several black bags. The evidence of a horrific crime were now being quietly cleared away. A day earlier, Gordon had begun messaging Phoenix's family and friends using Phoenix's phone. Mimicking Phoenix's style, she crafted believable messages, and one by one, those who cared about Phoenix were convinced, none of them realizing that the person they were texting was not Phoenix at all. On April 21st, Gordon booked a taxi, bringing with her a heavy suitcase. Inside were some of Phoenix's dismembered body parts. Her destination was the Handsworth area of Birmingham, where she was last seen near a cemetery. When Gordon returned to the refuge later that day, the suitcase was no longer with her. The grim contents had vanished, leaving only a growing sense of unease beneath her calm exterior. Gordon then arranged for another waste disposal service, but this time, the team was instructed to remove only black bags, each one concealing more of her crime. Meanwhile, using Phoenix's phone, she messaged Phoenix's housing manager, stating that Phoenix would be moving out. When the manager tried calling to ensure everything was all right, Gordon quickly replied, insisting that all communication should be done by email. It was another layer of deception. Later that same day, Gordon downloaded an app called Audio Editor. Using this tool, she began collecting snippets from old voice notes Phoenix had sent, carefully piecing them together. With these edited clips, she attempted to recreate Phoenix's voice, crafting a believable reply to one of Phoenix's friends. Surveillance footage later captured Gordon cycling to the Handsworth Cemetery, the same place where she had previously taken one of the suitcases filled with Phoenix's body parts. But this time, she wasn't just visiting. She was there to move the remains. Enlisting the help of a friend, Mahesh Sorathia, Gordon loaded the dismembered body parts into his vehicle. Together, they drove to Colford in Gloucestershire, a remote area dense with woodland, an ideal spot to hide the horrifying evidence. In a surprising turn, Gordon appeared at a police station in Colford. Calm and composed, she approached the front desk, asking if she could charge her phone. She explained to the officers that she was supposed to meet a friend in the area, but her phone had died. But when the officers asked for her phone, she hesitated and produced a Samsung instead. The small inconsistency was strange, but it was nothing for staff to be concerned about at the time. After leaving the police station, Gordon boarded a bus to Gloucester railway station and made her way back to Birmingham. The following day, she visited Home Bargains, where she purchased cleaning products and a sleeping bag, items that hinted at further disturbing plans. The next day, she was seen arriving at a petrol station in a taxi. Something about her demeanor unsettled the driver. When Gordon stepped inside the station, the driver's curiosity got the better of him. He checked the bag she had left behind in the vehicle and discovered leather gloves and a military-style shovel. Alarmed, he decided to drive off, taking the bag with him. Surprisingly, Gordon responded by calling the police, reporting that her driver had stolen from her. But soon after, she called again to cancel the report, claiming the driver had returned the bag. The next day, Gordon took her bike and boarded a train back to Colford. Her purpose was clear. She was finally preparing to dispose of Phoenix's remains for good. The dismembered body parts were already stashed in the dense forest, but now Gordon needed to find the perfect spot, somewhere isolated enough to hide the horrific truth she had been carrying. Sitting alone in the forest with Phoenix's dismembered remains, Gordon once again used Phoenix's phone for a series of sickening Google searches. Surrounded by the evidence of her crime, she searched for ways to finally be rid of it all. She camped there for several days, consumed by panic and desperation, cycling through ideas as she tried to figure out how to erase the horror she had created. Eventually, Gordon left the forest and returned to Birmingham. She was soon spotted at a petrol station, calmly filling a fuel can with petrol, a clear indication that she had settled on a plan. Around 5 p.m., Mahesh Sarathia picked Gordon up and drove her back to Gloucestershire. Deep in the secluded woods, she spent hours trying to burn Phoenix's remains. They had arrived when daylight still lingered, but darkness soon settled over the forest. Sarathia, waiting in his car, grew anxious. What was taking so long? His impatience led him to start driving around the area, but this drew unwanted attention. A local resident, familiar with the quiet, isolated road, grew suspicious. During the strict COVID-19 lockdown, unnecessary travel was rare, and a car circling in the darkness seemed out of place. The suspicious resident noted the car's registration number and reported it to the police. A quick check revealed that the vehicle was registered to an address in Wolverhampton, nearly 80 miles away. Curious and concerned, officers decided to investigate. They located the car and approached Mahesh Sarathia, who was still waiting. When questioned, he explained that he was there waiting for a friend. The officers reminded him of the COVID-19 restrictions, which prohibited unnecessary travel, and advised him to leave the area. Satisfied for the moment, they let him go. Shortly after, other police officers patrolling the area spotted Mahesh Sarathia again. This time driving slowly towards a set of suitcases left suspiciously by the roadside. Sensing something was off, the officers called for backup to investigate the suitcases while they stopped Sarathia. He was issued a fine for breaking COVID-19 travel restrictions and instructed to leave. But back at the suitcases, other officers were now inspecting them. Only they weren't alone. Standing with them was a woman, Gareeca Gordon. In that moment, her entire gruesome plan came crashing down.
I don't want to stop you guys.
You are stopping it. You are stopping us.
Okay, can I just explain, because as I said before, like I've had
Step away, please.
I've had issues with that before.
Step away, please.
Just stand there. Okay.
This is okay. Calm down. We've done anyway.
Okay. I won't.
Then this is
What the?
It was at this moment police discovered the horrifying truth. The suitcases contained the dismembered remains of Phoenix Nets. The investigation swiftly unraveled, and both Gareeca Gordon and Mahesh Sarathia were arrested, charged, and remanded in custody. An emergency post-mortem confirmed Phoenix's identity, and her devastated family and friends were informed that she was no longer alive. Gareeca Gordon, who was 28 at the time of sentencing, eventually admitted to murdering Phoenix. She received a life sentence with a minimum term of 23 years and 6 months. Mahesh Sarathia, 39 at the time of his arrest, was acquitted. Police found no evidence proving that he knew the suitcases contained Phoenix's remains. During questioning, he explained that he had been paid by Gordon to drive her, but was unaware of what she was truly involved in. Phoenix Nets was a young woman seeking safety and a fresh start, but instead, she found herself caught in the path of a predator disguised as a friend. Her tragic death became a painful reminder of the darkness that can hide behind familiar faces.